episode of the Dynasty Dogs. And tonight we have a special guest from the Dynasty DNA crew, Wizz. How are you, Wizz?
I'm doing terrific, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. We're going to be talking about our guys from the 2024 running back class. Let's get the dirt out of the way. What did you think of this running back class as a whole?
I mean, it's definitely not the top of the line, especially like 2023 was. But I think there's a couple diamonds in the rough there. I think there's gonna be a lot of landmines in there where people are gonna invest heavily in some of them, and they're not gonna hit in there. And then what we're gonna see from production wise, maybe like smaller windows than we're used to, I guess. And there's a lot more unique setbacks, I guess is a better way to put it as well, where they're gonna have some might linger around the NFL for a while, but there's not gonna be fantasy relevant. There's gonna be more better for NFL rather than fantasy.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of been my thought process through most of this, is that a lot of these guys are going to be better NFL assets than fantasy assets. There are going to be a few guys that are going to be fantasy relevant. Is there anyone you think could possibly get into a first round rookie pick in our dynasty drafts, or do you in Superflex or one quarterback?
Yeah, I think one quarterback, you might have one creep up there. But the problem, so my number one personally when I was going through this whole entire process was Jonathan Brooks. But obviously the biggest knock on him is that he tore his ACL. So he's coming off a fresh ACL tear. And I don't know if he'll be ready for the start of the season, NFL season. I'm assuming not. But I think maybe a guy like Trey Benson might be able to creep up there. Blake Corum, if he goes to the right landing spots, and name value.
Just say it. Just say where that spot is.
Yeah, exactly. The Chargers,
Yeah.
Who has the Chargers lose their mind? He's going to be 1.11, 1.12, but no one really up in that upper echelon of the first round picks.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more wide receivers go, and I feel comfortable taking at least 7, maybe 8 wide receivers before I start really dropping capital into these running backs. It just depends. It also depends on team needs. I don't know if you agree with this, but in my rookie drafts, I go for talent over need most of the time. What is your thought process on that?
Yeah, I do the same thing. So especially in startups, there's been times where I take quarterbacks super late in the super flex league, right, which is not good. And I have guys like Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, and I'm just trying to piece it together. But I have all this other value and talent I could easily move around for a quarterback. Because guys that are taking 5-4 quarterbacks, once the season starts, they're starting like Kendrick Bourne and hoping that this gonna be his week that he pops off. Where I'm like, I could give you a wide receiver and then some extra, just on top to push it over. So yeah, 100%. And also, you don't have to take the pick if you're on the clock, right? That's something that's also important to know. And that's when your picks are gonna be most valuable, right? If you're like, man, I really need some running backs, and Blake Corum's down there for you to grab at 1.11, I wouldn't force it, right? I would just be like, 1.11's up. Maybe you might be able to trade it for maybe like James Cook or whoever it might be,
Or just move back in the draft in general. Can move back from 1.11 to 2.5, maybe.
Right.
Because I've seen Corum, and I've done a couple different rookie mocks. He usually goes, I think there's a lot of Michigan fanhood in the dynasty realm, which is great. I'm not the biggest Corum fan. I don't know about you, but I've seen him kind of go in that 2.5 to 11 range. That's not somebody I'm really looking to grab, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. What I saw on tape wasn't that impressive. I remember during the NFL season, everyone was hyping him up, oh, this guy's gonna be super great. And I was watching his tape, and I'm I'm just not impressed by him. He doesn't do anything. He's just kind of good at everything. He doesn't do anything exceptionally well.
Yeah, his contact balance extremely bothers me, especially going to the NFL where the players are bigger, stronger, faster. That does concern me just a slight bit. Let's get into our guys. So we both have 3, and then we both have kind of a sleeper or somebody we want to watch, see what happens with the combine, with the draft, kind of diamonds in the rough, I guess you could say. You want to go with your first guy, and I hope you go with the right one because it's somebody you and I both really like, and some others that are part of the DNA crew that are not so high on him.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's gonna be Aldric Estime, right? This is a guy that I was watching tape on. And I just immediately loved. So like with it, I mean, when you guys are talking about him on the last show, right? You guys say that he's like really quick for a big guy. He kind of has like that nice physicality and a little bit of explosiveness to his game, right? So it's not necessarily like a Gus Edwards where he's there to move the chains.
Like a
This guy
plotter.
could, yeah, exactly. This guy could, he could take it for 40 yards. He's probably gonna get caught and tackled, but he still has that burst and acceleration to get up in the open field and get those extra yardages, which is awesome. And I think this is one of the guys that I kind of highlighted as maybe this guy's like a 2 to 3 year window kind of guy where he's gonna be fantasy relevant. I don't think he's gonna be in the RB1 category ever, but like an RB2 for like 2 seasons. Like if I get that kind of production for a late second round pick or an early third, I'm gonna 100% take that. So.
When you watched him, did you think his hands were better than what the stats tell us? Because obviously he doesn't have a whole lot of pass catching volume, stat wise, but it does look like he has solid hands, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that, like when people say running backs can't, like some of these running backs can't catch, right? That was like a big thing for Derrick Henry. But I think like the past 2 seasons, he had like career highs in pass catching, right? And he's always been a guy that's not really catching balls, but running backs can catch dump off passes, right? I can catch a dump off pass for the most part, just as they don't rocket at me, you know what I mean? But so like everyone can kind of learn those things, and but I thought he did really well. I think he's okay at pass blocking. He definitely needs to work on his technique a little bit. So it offers he has like somewhat of a ground floor to be to have that third down work volume as well sprinkled in. And just overall, I thought he was probably the best well-rounded guy in the class.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. What do you think his draft capital could be? Like, if you had to guess right now. Obviously, we have the combine. The running backs are going to go, I think, on Saturday, I think it is. So we're going to have a little bit more information after that. But if you were to just guess right now, what do you think?
Well, I think I made a bet with Mike Cash on Twitter that he's going to run a 440 in the 440s. And I think that's the biggest thing that has his draft capital dependent, right? The last Notre Dame running back to kind of go out that in recent memory I can remember is Kyron Williams, and then he did really bad on his 40-yard dash, and he went down to 6th-round draft pick. But I think realistically, if he runs in the 4.4s, he might be able to get late 3rd-round draft capital, maybe 4th. But if he's kind of out of there, he's going to be a 6th, 5th-round draft pick, which, I mean, it is what it is. And at this point, I mean, you're going to be getting him in the 3rd round regardless. So once he gets 3rd round, then you might have to spend a mid to late 2nd round on there. So.
Yeah, so I was thinking probably late 3rd, 4th as well. My dream landing spot would be the Philadelphia Eagles. We need kind of that big bruising back, and that would be just absolutely perfect in my opinion. Actually, now that you mentioned, let me ask you one more question before we get on to the next one. When a running back gets taken in the 4th round, do you give them any kind of a rookie bump in your draft? So if they're a 4th round pick in the NFL draft, do you consider that like a 3rd almost? Because there are a few people that do that. I actually do that myself. I don't know if that's something you.
Yeah, for like draft capital wise, right? So if so I'll go back through after the draft and kind of rewatch some of these guys to figure out what did I miss, why did this guy go in the 7th round, why did he go undrafted, and kind of figure out why. But regardless, right, we've seen running backs come out of nowhere, like Isaiah Pacheco, right? He was a 7th round draft pick, and I think he was an RB1 this past year, right, or just high end RB2 in PPR formatting. So these guys could come out of nowhere, right, and perform. And you have guys like Keaton Mitchell, right? He was a 6th rounder in Baltimore, and he had 2-3 RB1 weeks just because of his explosiveness in there. So these guys could always rise up. So I don't really necessarily care too much about draft capital for running backs, but I'm obviously gonna not value him as high because NFL is saying this guy's not really worth it as much. But if there's a surprising, right? So if Blake Corum gets the 2nd round draft capital, right? He says goes to Chargers in the 2nd round, right? I'm gonna have to rewatch his film back. Okay, what did the Chargers see? It's just a hardball pick. Like, oh, I just love Blake Corum, you know. And that's something I kind of got to refine, you know. You just got to go look on it, and then if you still don't like the talent, even if Blake Corum was drafted in the 2nd round, you're like, I still don't see why. I don't think he's that good of a back. Then obviously that's to be a guy you're going to fade. But if you still like the talent there, I think it's still, I don't know, just got to use your best judgment kind of thing as my philosophy behind it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually forgot. Where do you have Estime ranked in your rankings currently? Your way too early rankings.
Yeah, so I'm third overall currently.
Okay, nice.
And that's this is just strictly off of film, is what I did all my rankings on. I didn't do any deep dive in like age or anything like that. And I mean, we'll talk about one of my running backs, but he's number 2 overall. But he's gonna be dropped down a little bit just because of his age coming into the league and all that stuff. I'm guessing he's probably not getting high enough draft capital either.
Yeah, planting the seeds for one of your other guys on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And for like estimate, I think a good place for him to go would be, I think you perform really well in either like Tampa Bay, going there with Rashad White. They kind of came out and said that they're looking for another RB. They said you need a two-headed backfield. I think somewhere in Tennessee as well. I don't think Tajay Spears is going to be able to. I don't think they want to give him that kind of workload of 20 plus carries a game. I think it would be a well balanced, just somewhere where he could kind of go in there and be a 1B to a 1A type of thing. So
yeah. So I think I said that on the last pod too. Tennessee would be an interesting spot for him as well. Tajay Spears, now that you mentioned it, is a sell for me, just based on I think they're going to bring somebody else in to take some work from him. But let me get into my guy. My first guy, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and go with my RB1 of the class, is Bucky Irving, Oregon running back, 5'10", 193. Let's, again, rip the Band-Aid off and get into the negatives about Irving. He's sub 200 pounds, at least right now. That's what his listed weight is. We'll find out more in a few days. But let's be honest. That dude plays a lot bigger than his listed size of 193. He is at 3.99 yards after contact. That's almost 4 yards after contact. I really like his contact balance, and I love the fact that he plays bigger than he is. I think he has really good burst, extremely elusive, and his lateral quickness is legit, in my opinion. Now, I know you're not the biggest Bucky Irving fan, and I understand, especially with that light frame. On film, he tends to put his burst and lateral speed to the test, trying to beat these edge rushers out to the end. But it doesn't always work. I do think he's a little impatient in that aspect. But what do you think of Bucky Irving? Because he's my RB1. I forgot to mention, extremely good pass catcher, 56 receptions last year for 400 yards. So I definitely think that's something that we are going to want on our dynasty rosters going forward.
Yeah, so with Bucky Irving, right, you kind of brought it up. He had one of my lowest patience grade of the running backs I had going there. And also a big thing, so you were talking about pass catching work. I had him marked relatively lower than most on pass protection, right? So if you can be out there. Oh,
pass protection, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big factor, right? He's not going to get third down if he's going to let his quarterback get killed. So that's something he needs to work on. But like something that's not going to show up on your stat sheets that I absolutely loved when I was watching his tape and I wrote down multiple times was that this guy, he's going out, he's running out straight ahead of his wide receivers to set up blocks. This guy is like a team first mentality. And I think he's gonna be a great locker room kind of guy. I think when they're doing the scouting process and they're interviewing these prospects, Bucky Irving's gonna come up there and be like, we like this guy. Like he's just like he doesn't quit, and that's like something that I wrote in there as well. Even though he gets tackled relatively easier, he still fights through contact whenever he can. He always fights for the extra yard, blocks for his teammates. That's something that I like to see in there. It doesn't seem like he has any head issues. I kind of you have north-south runners. I write compass runners for something that's lateral.
Okay, yeah.
Term I use.
I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you might want to trademark that compass.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I actually like that.
Yeah, and that's something I wrote for him. I thought he had decent goal line vision, but being an undersized back, right? I didn't, like I said, when I went through the grading process, I didn't look at size or anything, just strictly off of film, and that's something he's going to struggle at. But I think he has pretty decent vision. It's just, is he going to be able to take what kind of offensive line? I think it's going to be a big question as well. And then is he going to start going straight ahead instead of trying to always bounce it outside? So I think that's going to be his biggest downfall in the NFL. Unless he straightens it out.
Yeah, so that's something I also forgot to mention that you mentioned is his getting out there and blocking. I know we talked about his pass protection not being that good, but he has the want to. Sometimes you have to, if you at least are trying, you can get better, obviously. He does the dirty work is what you're basically saying. He does all the dirty work. gets the job done. So I think he's somebody that could play himself into a decent role in the NFL. I think anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything's possible, right? He's going to add weight on once he gets in the NFL camps and stuff like that, right? I know everyone like freaked out when Jameer Gibbs was 199 because he was at the 200-pound
Look how
threshold.
that worked out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Bucky Irving could definitely amount to something. I think he's going to get higher draft capital than most of my guys that are ahead of him in there. So it's going to be interesting in land spots. I think he would fit really well in KC. I don't know what
I
you
like
have
that.
him.
I like
I
that a
don't know.
lot.
Was that your number one spot for him?
That is. I hate when we do this because we always tend to, like, as Dynasty people, we always tend to try to put them on the best possible scenario, and it doesn't work like that ever. So, Casey's a great one. Believe it or not, I like your Baltimore Ravens as a solid one, a running team that, J.K. Dobbins is. I mean, we had a video posted of him today running on his torn Achilles, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. I think he could be a good back on that team because they are running back by committee normally. I would say Buffalo, but they have James Cook, so that's kind of out the window. But yeah, I like KC. I like Baltimore. Those are two pretty good ones in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Bucky Irving would just fit really well in that Jerick McKinnon role. Like 2 years ago, down the championship run where Jerick McKinnon just kept catching all the passes and he won so many people championships. I don't know if you remember that or if you had Jerick McKinnon on your team during that stretch, but it was like a crazy stretch of time. And you just plucked up Jerick McKinnon. You're like, this guy's going to take me to the chip.
Yeah. What a time to be alive at that point. What I kind of see him as, like, again, another third, fourth round NFL pick, possibly a second round, early third round pick in rookie drafts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think realistically he's a fourth to fifth round, but I think it's going to come down to a lot of it is it's just going to come down to the combine, right? Where he weighs in, if he comes in. What was he running at college?
I have him listed from when I looked it up today at 193.
193. So if he comes in there weighing about 199, 200 pounds, kind of where the NFL and like fantasy threshold is, I think that's going to help his draft stock a lot. If he runs a nice 440.
I think he could have a nice 40. And I also think he's going to have really good cone drills as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to come in there. I hope he runs the passing as well. He does the passing. I don't know if he is or is not. But just I think if he makes himself available to all the drills and kind of just really – he doesn't need to like exceed expectations just as long as he's above average. Like that's all he needs to do. And I think that would really increase his stock for the draft.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, this running back class is so not great as a simple way to put it that, I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to crush the combine that are probably going to get better draft capital than we imagine. I would imagine. Who's your next guy?
My next guy is going to be Jonathan Brooks. He's my RB1 overall in the class. Something I really liked about him, I just thought he was just like his vision was really great. I thought he was one of the better pass catchers in the class. I had him graded above Bucky Irving by 2 points. His pass pros, I think it's good enough where he's still needing to work on some of his forming
his technique.
Technique, yes. Yeah, technique. Sorry, I couldn't speak.
That happens. Me all the time.
And I just thought he just was, if it wasn't Estime, like he would have been the best well-rounded, but he kind of like spurts up in some areas and down in lower areas. His break and tackle ability isn't really always there. But he's just a real quick guy in there. I think he's I don't know. I think he would have the best chance to be the highest drafted running back if it wasn't for the torn ACL. And that's something we should kind of factor in once I still think he's going to get round 3 draft capital.
Probably, yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah, even with the torn ACL. So, like, if he didn't tear his ACL, like, he's looking round 2, and then he'd be a first-round Dynasty pick, probably beat out some of the wide receivers in there. So,
I like Jonathan Brooks. I'm not as high. I do agree with pretty much everything you said. The contact balance and breaking tackle ability does bother me. And that's something that seems to bother me with a lot of running backs. I don't know why. I like my bigger bruising backs, kind of like the Jordan Howards of the world, which I know they're not like super fantasy relevant, but Jordan Howard had a pretty good freaking run for a little bit there. My thing is with Jonathan Brooks, if you're a rebuilding team, I think he's a decent grab in the second round of your rookie drafts because you're not going to get full Jonathan Brooks in 2024, I would imagine. You're going to get a slightly used Jonathan Brooks because he's not going to be available for training camp, I would imagine. He's not going to be used the first few weeks or not have it like the biggest workload. So you're essentially getting a rental for a year and see what he has in 2025. So I think he would be a good rebuilding piece for a team that is willing to wait a year.
Right. And it comes down to, it might shy some dynasty owners away as well, right? We saw that with James Williams, right? He was I think he was like 5th pick in the first round. For most people, 5th, 6th, 7th, around that area. So people spent high draft capital and they waited a whole year for him. And then the production they saw, and then he got suspended, right? So you missed all this time with James Williams. He's just dropping balls. So I don't know.
Getting himself into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being an absolute goon, this guy. But I think with Jonathan Brooks is that I think most fantasy owners they're going to remember Jameson Williams and be like, I don't want to take that chance again. If he hits, I could probably pay late first for him next year, or during the season. I think he's going to slip down in some of the drafts, right? I think could easily end up at the bottom of the second round in there, maybe the 3rd running back off the boards. I mean, all comes down to draft capital. So I think it's what's going to really make or break a stock for the fantasy community.
So did you say he's your running back 1, right?
Yeah, he's my running back 1 overall.
Okay. What do you think the perfect landing spot for him is? Yeah, it's tough when we're put on the spot like this, to be honest with you. Because that's the shit that I should have asked you, but I forgot.
Yeah. I think the Vikings.
I have one.
I was going to say the Vikings, I think, could be a good landing spot there. They're missing a lot of holes in their running backs. Alexander Madison just got cut, and I just saw that from Daniel Dixon, too. He just posted the recent news, hidden free agency. He said what rookie running back would be a good fit in Minnesota? Well, I think Jonathan Brooks would be a good fit. But also, for some reason, the 49ers kind of come out to me, right?
That's a good
Christian
one.
McCaffrey's getting a little bit older, so they don't need the instant production from Jonathan Brooks. And I feel like he could – I'm not saying he's going to be a Christian McCaffrey, right? I'm not saying that. But I think he could fill a Christian McCaffrey role. And then just as long as there's someone else to take some of the workload with him, like Elijah Mitchell is still there or something,
Believe it or not, when I was watching him, I felt like he was a Dallas Cowboys running back. Like he just looks like a Cowboys running back to me. I don't know what it is. He just looks like he could take that job from Tony Pollard. Yeah.
And Tony Pollard might not be there this coming season.
It's true. That's true. I mean, Jerry Jones does love paying running backs, so it wouldn't shock me if he's still there. But when I look at Jonathan Brooks, he just screams Dallas Cowboy to me. I don't know what it is. I know sometimes we look at a player and it's like, oh, that's a future like Baltimore Raven or Philadelphia Eagle. But like for whatever reason, he just screams Cowboy to me. So we'll get into my next guy, probably somebody that I have higher than you. I imagine I do. It's my RB3 of the class. Marshawn Lloyd. I actually just wrote an article on him for Toilets and Titles. Shout out to them for letting me do that. Marshawn Lloyd is an explosive playmaker who is a nice mix of burst quickness, and long speed. Patience is a little bit of not a virtue for him. He tends to like to bounce out a little bit too much, but I think because he depends on his athleticism. But this dude can make people miss in the open field, can catch the ball extremely well, really stood out to me at the Senior Bowl. So I didn't really watch many of the running backs before I went down there. But when I got down there, dude, he stood out to me. He was the biggest riser for me in regards to the running backs. He made a lot of plays where the crowd went, ooh, and like just making jump cuts. I seen Daniel Jeremiah. I believe it was Daniel Jeremiah. Compare him to DeAndre Swift, and now that's all I can see. They're very similar size and very similar play style. The dude's got really solid hands. Dude, I think you need to go back and watch Marshawn Lloyd again. I know I think you had him in your 6-7 range, I believe, right? Because me and you have been talking back and forth about rookies for.
Yeah, so I bumped him down to RB9 at the end of my rankings.
You're killing me here.
I swear.
What is your anti-Marshawn Lloydness stem from?
Okay, so
TJ Blake said Texans for Texans, Arizona. You said Minnesota for Jonathan Brooks. I'm not used to live and not used to having comments pop up, so I don't know what the hell's happening. So yeah, the Texans would be a good spot as well. Shout out to TJ. But what were you going to say about Marshawn Lloyd? I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. We can answer Daniel Dixon's question. He said, which rookie running back would you think is the best fit in Minnesota?
I mean, you kind of mentioned it with Brooks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Brooks would be a good one. I think Trey Benson could also be a nice fit there. He's kind of used to playing behind a bad offensive line, so I think he would go really well in Minnesota. But, I mean, for running backs wise, I mean, I don't think there's really many. Unless you're a great pass catcher and you're going to rely from pass catching.
Bucky Irving?
I think Bucky Irving might be able to fit good in there in Minnesota as well. Mm-hmm. Just someone that's not going to rely on getting points from running the football through that offensive line.
Not a whole lot of open lanes in Minnesota right now. I think that's definitely something they're going to have to address in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what was the reasoning for bumping down Lloyd?
Yeah, so Lloyd, I thought his breaking tackle ability wasn't that great. I'm looking at all my scores right now. Receiving wise, I watched 4 games of Lloyd. I thought he was just slightly above average on pass catching. So
you're breaking TJ's heart with Marshawn Lloyd, guy.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Andy broke mine, so.
The A train is off the track. So I hope he's listening because we talked about Estime already. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He broke my heart. Just breaking tackle ability. I just thought, overall, he just was average in a below average draft class, right? So nothing stood out to me. He had a couple nice. He has home run vision, right? He took a couple to the house. From long ways out. So I'm okay, he might be able to have a role as a change of pace back, right? But those are a good best ball kind of guy. He had fumbling issues as well. He had 4 fumbles this past year.
3 years. Yeah, 8 in 3 years. It's definitely alarming.
It was 4 this past year from when I pulled up as well. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's obviously can get players benched if they can't hold on to the football. And just a lot of it is I just wrote he's okay, not consistent. Nothing special. That's my notes is in here. It's he's just a guy that's come across as average kind of guy. So, I mean, I don't hate him, and I'll probably have to go back through, especially depending on draft capital. Right, if he gets good draft capital, good landing spot to go reinvest back in the film. And maybe you and TJ could send me the right film to watch. To be this is where he really shines. You didn't watch this game.
See, the problem is with Marshawn Lloyd is that he was never a bell cow back. When looking at his stats earlier today, it's let me pull it. I just had it. 111 carries in 2022, 116 carries in 2023. He never really had that bell cow role. But when I watched him and the way, his how do I put this? Jump cuts, his elusiveness, his lateral quickness, and his pass catching looks like a difference maker to me. Somebody that could be we mentioned DeAndre Swift-esque type of weapon. And if he goes to the right spot, now my favorite landing spot for him would be the LA Chargers. They need weapons desperately. Justin Herbert tends to target the running back a little bit. So I think Marshawn Lloyd would be an excellent addition to the LA Chargers. And I think, man, he's gonna turn some heads down at the combine, especially with a lot of the drills that they're gonna have him doing.
Yeah, that would be definitely a good landing spot, right? If he gets that kind of landing spot, I might have to go back and rewatch it, even if it is a 6th round pick. I might be like, oh, does he have a chance of winning the job? Just also like another thing that I saw in my notes is that he doesn't always fight for those extra yards, kind of gives up.
Really? Okay. I kind of felt that he was a hard runner, but maybe just wasn't the greatest at breaking tackles.
Okay. I wrote that in the Cal game. So I don't know if that was just a Cal game thing. I was just kind of scanning over some of my notes. And I thought sometimes he waits too long while waiting for runs to develop, or he doesn't wait long enough. Yeah, he's either too patient or impatient, and it's just like a weird timing thing. Like sometimes he times it just right, other times he's like too slow behind. Like I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, good patience, not good patience, impatient. Needs to wait.
He kind of has that. I think he's better than this player, but he kind of has that Jalen Wright mentality where it's trying to make the home run play happen. And, kind of like a Miles Sanders too, believe it or not. I could see that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Marshawn Lloyd. I think he could be a difference maker. I think he would be a solid late second, third round in our rookie picks. I've been trying to grab him in the few startups that I've been in. Just hoping for that great landing spot because people are taking other rookies a little ahead of him. So we'll see what happens with that. You got anything else you want to throw out there before we move on to your next guy?
Yeah, I mean, so what's separating him from 5 is less than 1 point. So Jalen Wright's my number 5 spot in my rankings, but they're all like that chunk of
it's just a tier.
All so close. Yeah, it's all so close together in there. So it's not like me saying 10 doesn't really like. I'm not saying he's trash and he doesn't compare to anyone else. It's just that tier. I feel like a lot of them are just they kind of do the same thing, or they're just kind of I don't know, just all kind of lumped together because they're just not really that impressive.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I've started to think like I'm going to stop doing 1 through 10 and kind of keep tiers. Like, this player and this player are very similar. So it's not, it's not like 4 and 6 are that big of a drop off. You want to get into your next guy? I know who it is and I'm excited to talk about him.
Yeah. So it's Ray Davis. He's my RB2 overall. Like I said in the beginning of the show, he's probably going to drop down a little bit just because of his age. And I'm guessing he's probably not good draft capital as well, maybe 6th round, even though he's really impressive on tape. He kind of, when I was watching him, he reminded me a little bit of Thomas Jones. I don't know if you remember watching him.
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, he was a Chicago Bears running back, Jets running back, and he went over to Kansas City, I think, towards the end of his career. Mm-hmm. But the thing about Ray Davis is that he kind of has that nice I think it's more of a balance than Estime is of a burst and acceleration and physicality. And that's what really reminded me of Thomas Jones. Like I was watching him, I was like, is this Thomas Jones? And I'm watching,
Am I watching the right person? Did I go back in time just slightly?
Yeah, just overall, I mean, he doesn't. I don't think he has that 4th gear, like 100% of a 4th gear. So he's gonna be caught a little bit behind, but he's just so physical. I think he's just a really smart, high IQ football player, and I think he would have come out last year. He would have been probably drafted. I didn't watch him his 23 tape, so I'm guessing there's probably a reason why he didn't come out in 23. But
yeah, so I see TJ's blowing it up now. He's excited about Ray Davis. I am also really high on Ray. Well, not so high. I have him at running back 6. He would have been my RB2 just based on film, but I did a lot of things combined, stats, age, stuff like that. So Ray Davis is currently 24 years old. He'll be 25 in November. That is a huge red flag to me. But dude, when I watched him, so I don't know if you're familiar or watch. I don't know, you're probably familiar, but I don't know if you watch Good Morning Football.
I'm not. I don't watch it. No.
So they have a segment called Angry Runs, and they hand out a scepter for the week, like whoever had like the best, hit stick or stuff like that. I see Ray Davis as a future Angry Runs winner on Good Morning Football. I could definitely see that happening. Dude, at the Senior Bowl, for a dude that's listed at what? I think I have it down 5'8", 222 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I know he's a little bit undersized.
No, undersized at 200.
Well, I mean for height. Sorry.
But dude, that man looks like an angry a bowling ball. Like I could not believe how quick his footwork was and how good his pass catching was down in Mobile. I was so impressed. He made a really nice one-handed grab in one-on-one drills, and he had a play. I wish I had a better video of it because it was on the other side of the field, but he was running up the sideline. A defender was coming this way, and he just stopped on a dime. The defender went right in front of him, and he just continued on. I was like, damn, that was pretty damn impressive. I wish I had better video of it, but it is what it is. I was really impressed with Ray Davis. He would, again, absolutely would have been my RB2 if he wasn't going to be 25 years old during the season.
Yeah, so I Googled it. It says that he's 5'10", 216.
I could have sworn they had him at 220 down at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, that's from Kentucky, so.
Hold on,
they like to pad it a little bit. But I was gonna say, so Thomas Jones, when he was coming out of college, he was 5'10", 212. And I mean, I just now learned that was his height. So 4-pound difference. TJ said it reminds him a little bit of Doug Martin, but with
muscle hamster
with better hands. But yeah, I mean, like you said, right? It's just his ability to stop on a dime. I think he's super elusive for being, I'm going to say, a bigger back, right? He's not a bigger back, but just more of a physical kind of back where he has both elements of his game there that he could really shine. And I think there's going to be a lot of, I don't think there's necessarily a bad landing spot for Ray Davis. I think that he could work his way up a depth chart. So if he goes behind a crowded backfield, right? If he goes to Jacksonville, I think he could easily take.
We don't take Tank Bigsby slander around here. We don't do that.
You're going to take it now because he's going to take his job and kick him to the curb. But
it's possible.
And just anywhere I don't think there's a bad landing spot, but there's definitely a lot of great ones in there. And I think Baltimore is a perfect landing spot. I mean, it's a little bit biased. I think Philly is also a good landing spot as well. I think he could be a nice between the tackles back for you guys, and just he has a potential to be a bell cow. I don't think he will ever get that job in the NFL. But one markdown I had for him was a pass pro. I think he needs a lot of work on pass pro still. He was one of my lower scoring guys on pass pro out of this whole entire. Well, there's people worse than him, but.
So yes, he was listed at 220 in the Senior Bowl measurements. So he is literally, I call him an angry bowling ball, and I mean that with the most complimentary way you can possibly mean that. But that dude looks like a mountain of a man. His lower half is just strong. He is a bruising physical back, and with the stop-start ability, it's pretty damn impressive.
Right, and that's so I think he's gonna be a nice value in dynasty drafts. So I think a lot of these running backs in there. So these are so my top 3 guys I'm probably going to be targeting most of my rookie drafts that have picks in those ranges. And that's just because, I mean, Ray Davis, right? Age, that's the biggest knock on him. If he was 23, 24, he would be he'd probably be a high second round draft pick, right? Jonathan Brooks, torn ACL, biggest knock on him, right? Estimated is probably the one that has a knock on him, right? But I mean, just overall, I mean, those are my Ray Davis. I just can't wait to watch.
Can't wait to see
the draft to see where he goes.
Just praying you have the Baltimore Ravens jersey pretty much made already. You're just waiting for the number.
Yeah, I got a Zay Flowers jersey over here, but I'll throw that away. We'll get I'll buy a Ray Davis autograph.
Oh, don't throw that. Don't throw Zay away.
Well, I was just saying I would just get a Ray Davis autograph, Baltimore Ravens jersey.
True. So my third guy, kind of a sleeper as well. As my fourth guy is also going to be a sleeper. So these two, I kind of went off the grid a little bit. I really like Dejon Edwards, Georgia running back, listed at 5'9", 202. That was a Super Bowl, Senior Bowl measurements. Never really was the bell cow in Georgia, but I mean, in reality, Georgia doesn't really use bell cow backs. But I really liked his vision. I think he took what was given to him. I thought I third it. Oh, he's saying Ray Davis is a third-round pick. I could see that.
TJ, where's your landing spot? Where's your preferred landing spot for him?
Oh, he better not say the Steelers. But
dude, Arthur Smith is licking his chops right now. I'm just thinking about Ray Davis.
It's true. I really like Dejon Edwards' vision. I'm going to these Senior Bowl conversations because I was just like, dude, I said this yesterday on a live episode I did with Toilets and Titles, but I felt like a fucking kid in a candy store down at the Senior Bowl. I was just so happy watching all these drills, watching like these future NFL players. It was just so much fun. But his footwork in the cone drills, we're gonna see it at the senior or at the I said it again at the combine was so damn impressive, and we're gonna see it. It's hard to describe, but he kept his feet extremely close, which is great, especially when you're running in between the tackles. Solid hands, slim frame is really the biggest knock for me on him. Obviously he's just above 200 pounds, but I really think he could be a nice complementary piece and probably could be a decent dynasty asset if the right situation presented itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest knocks I had for him was, let's see, I had patience on there. Was one thing I'm kind of marking down on, but I thought
did forget them. Patience, he was another guy. I guess I have this thing for the three running backs I have all like to bounce it out before instead of waiting. But yeah.
So that's like one of the biggest knocks I had on him. But I mean, overall, I thought he visually, I thought he had good pad level, right? Good, decent contact balance. He showed breaking tackle ability there. Decent vision for the most part when he decided to not always try to force it outside. He showed good elusiveness in there. Receiving, I really liked his hands. I thought he had real nice hands. Pass pro, I thought he's probably one of the top 6, top 7 in the RB class. And there, and just I feel like he's kind of landing spot dependent in it, which is, I mean, there's against Ole Miss, I wrote in there, he squeezes through the smallest of holes. Like he's shifty, and he's just kind of inconsistent. And I don't know if that's just because I just watched decent amount of tape because I kept getting different things. I watched 6 games of Edwards because I couldn't come up with a conclusion of what am I missing, But I mean, you said his burst in there. I thought he was real quick out of his first cut, and he possesses that dual threat where he's a good runner and he's a good pass catcher. So,
yeah, I definitely think he could be a very nice change of pace back in the NFL. I could see him being like a 5th round pick, like a late dart throw. He's currently not even on sleeper yet. That's how much of a sleeper he is currently. I took him with my last pick in a startup. I had to take a quarterback who's not currently rostered in the NFL and put Dejon Edwards under it.
Uh-huh.
So he is somebody I'm going to be targeting in the late rounds just to see it, because I think his tape is pretty good. I think we mentioned all the great things, the burst, the speed. I think he's going to test well at the combine again. And I could see something. I could see a world where he gets, maybe even 4th round capital, because the NFL, they like their Georgia backs. I mean, 5th round, 5th to 6th round makes more sense, but the NFL likes Georgia backs, like I mentioned.
Yeah, and he kind of reminds me of another Georgia back. James Cook actually is a kind of a comp I kind of give him. And I feel like they're kind of the same kind of back. I think James Cook was a slightly better prospect coming out of the college.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
But I feel like they kind of fit the same kind of role where they kind of do the same thing. So
pass catching, smaller frame, stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. Elusive, not extremely, but very elusive running backs. I could see that. That's actually a good comp for him. I like that. James Cook. Damn. If he ends up being James Cook, I'm going to be pretty damn happy.
Yeah, especially given the 4th round or 5th round in rookie drafts. Unless he gets the 3rd round draft cap, I guess he'd probably bump to the late 3rd, but early 4th.
True. You want to go with your is this your sleeper time or is
this is my sleeper time. This is my close your eyes, throw your dart, and hope it hits the board. So mine is going to be Jahar Jordan out of Louisville. this guy, when I was watching the tape, right, I didn't think his vision was okay. Patience wasn't always there. He always kind of bounced outside a lot where it wasn't needed. But where he really shined was his elusiveness and his burst and acceleration. And I think this guy's incredibly fast. I don't know if he's going to be at the combine, which I kind of want to look up real quick to verify. But I think he's going to run a low 4.40, like, or maybe might crack a 4.3. Like I think he has elite track level speed in there.
I think he is. I feel like this has been a weird combine year where a lot of people aren't going for one reason or another. But yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good. So it says that he's gonna be at the. I think he's gonna be at the combine at least. So let me pull back my spreadsheet. So his burst and his elusiveness, immediately I just kind of thought, I'm like, he's gonna be the Keaton Mitchell of the class, where he's gonna be he's just that real change of pace back, right? We saw Chase Brown where he had a couple weeks coming in there. Keaton Mitchell had a couple weeks going in there before he tore his ACL, and I think he's gonna be a late day 3, round 7 draft pick.
Yeah,
where people are kind of just throwing darts as well, or he's gonna be just an undrafted guy that's gonna go out and land on a practice squad somewhere in there, and you're gonna be able to pick him up for free in your dynasty leagues. He's gonna be on the waiver wire in there, and I think he just offers a lot of upside just because of the speed in there, and he also has receiving and pass protection ability in there, and then I don't think he fumbled at all in Louisville this past year, but he was also not a bell cow back, right? He had a split role.
Yeah, so I like that one. I haven't watched a whole lot of him, so that's somebody I can definitely look more into. But the things that I've seen, I could definitely see that track level speed that you're talking about. Yeah, he could be a good dart throw. I like that. Mine is another dart throw, is Troy running back, and I'm probably going to screw this up, Kinami Vidal. This dude is another human bowling ball. 5'8", 215. Of course, in Philadelphia, we love that 215. That's our area code. But speaking of bell cow, this dude had 297 carries last year, 1,600 yards, 5.6 yards average, 14 TDs. You want to talk about bell cow? That is a fucking bell cow if I've ever heard of one. This dude, absolutely a strong runner. This dude keeps his feet moving. So again, there's not a whole lot of film to be watched on Vidal. There's a few things you could find on YouTube. It's cut up clips of him, getting different carries, getting past pro. So it's not any all 22 or anything like that. I'm sure eventually there will be some, but the things I saw, this dude fights for every single yard, and I really like that. I looked him up on PFF. He had 1,056 yards after contact. That is the second most in college football. That is absolutely ridiculous. Like, how can you just like that? Out of 1,600 yards, you have 1,056 after contact. That means you're just getting the shit hit out of you all the time. You just keep going, man. Right. I really like that. His burst is decent. I think he attacks the line of scrimmage extremely hard. He has some elusive and lateral agility, which I liked. So again, this is highlight film that's cut up, and it shows some of his pass pros. So I don't know if they skipped some or if it was everything from his pass pro, but I'll tell you what, this dude get dirty in pass pro, even for his size. He's trying to level people, which I love to see. The biggest two knocks I have on him is when he breaks those long runs, which he has a few of them. He gets brought down pretty easily. So the lack of long speed is definitely something. And he played for the Sun Belt Conference, so that's not something. He's a Troy running back. Again, we're talking about sleepers here at this point. So I think that's somebody we're going to need to do some more digging on. I could see him being like a 6th round pick and maybe go undrafted again. I think I mentioned earlier that he wasn't even drafted in the startup. I just picked him up off of waivers. So, side note, I believe it's Bryson Nesbitt, the tight end from North Carolina. Sleeper has him listed, and like Google wouldn't tell me 100% sure if he was coming out to go to the draft. Come to find out, he's not even declared for the NFL draft. He's going back to college. So I had to cut. I was like, I'm cutting him. He's not even going to the NFL. So I cut him, and I picked up Vidal. And I'm pretty interested to see where this goes because, man, this dude fights, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, from the one tape you sent me, I forgot. That was South Alabama, right?
South Alabama. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, right, he's playing against lower competition, so you can't really tell how he's going to stack up against. And that's like a nice thing about Jordan. He kind of played against ACC a little bit, and then I kind of got to watch some Big Ten games as well. It's just that's going to be the biggest question mark, right? And I think it's going to be the biggest knock. But if he lands on the right practice squad, because I don't think he will be drafted. I mean, you seem real optimistic with that 6th round. I think
it's maybe a little optimistic. I could be honest. It's probably closer to 7th, maybe even undrafted. And if he does get drafted, I'm going to be fucking doing backflips. But it'll be interesting to see because, like we mentioned, the conference Sun Belt, there's really not a whole lot of defensive juggernauts. But, I mean, hey, stranger things have happened, right? The Eagles took Pac-12 freaking linebackers forever, and that never worked, but we continued to do it. So who knows? Somebody could take a shot on a Sun Belt Conference running back. But dude, I'll tell you what, if you I forget the other 2 games that I watched, if you go back and watch him more, you'll see a guy who gets dirty, and it's cool. I love that in a running back.
If he gets drafted to the Eagles, you can buy his jersey.
Oh, yeah. First of all, by the way, Philadelphians, you might not know this, we are the absolute worst at pronouncing names. So he's just going to fit right in because it's like we have butchered so many like football player, baseball player names. It is absolutely ridiculous, and we should be put on punishment for that, but it just continues to happen. But yeah, I think he's somebody that could be a decent dart throw. Probably not even drafted in your rookie drafts that you could just pick up off waivers and see what happens. But throw him on your practice squad.
Right.
Not practice squad. Taxi
squad. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think that's what the nice thing about Jordan and Vidal is that these guys will be free on your thing. Just to be sitting on your waiver wires. And, you just kind of add them up there. You kind of wait for the preseason start. Wait for like a big explosive game. If they do like a nice 80-yard run, right? Maybe we'll flip them right away for a 3rd round draft pick, or or something, right? Get that instant profit. You can hold on and see what you have, and that's the nice thing about it. So
I'm actually on the clock in a startup currently in the 20th round. So there's 1 round left. Jordan's on here. So what do I do? Do I go Jordan or do I go Vidal?
Well, Vidal will probably be on the clock in the 21st round.
Yeah, true. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna take both of them and see what happens. I'm betting on both of us right here, so one of us has to be right.
Well, hopefully it's best ball because you won't know which week to start Jordan.
It is not best ball. It is a dynasty league. So again, these are just going to be 2 guys I'm probably going to throw on the taxi squad and hope for the best. So I hope nobody that is picking before me is listening to this, which I don't think they will be, but just hopefully Vidal falls to the next round. Anything you want to tell us that you're working on right now or anything like that you want to talk about briefly before we let you go?
I mean, kind of just now can resettle back in. Just did a nice move all the way across the world, the continent.
Literally.
Yeah. Moved to a brand new continent. But I mean, so far, I got some articles I'm working on currently. I'm hoping to have those published over on the Dynasty DNA website over there. You can find it on their Twitter. Also, we're going to be doing a little mini series on the YouTube channel where we're going to be reviewing people's rosters and kind of giving them the best advice we can. I think TJ and I are going to be that's something we're going to be doing. It's going to be real cool.
You ain't looking at any of my fucking rosters. I ain't. No.
Hey, we'll give you all the advice, Mike. We got to cut that Vidal guy. He's not gonna be anything.
You sound like a Philadelphian the way you butchered the line.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. So I guess something we've been doing. If you guys, if anyone wants their roster reviewed, you could join the Dynasty DNA Discord, which there's a lot of stuff happening there. It's gonna be on their on their Twitter page. And I think it's also still pinned on my first comment on my Twitter, which is down below right here at Dynasty Wizz FF. You can just go over there and join, 100% free to join, and you have all access to everyone in there. Mike's in there; he's always on there chatting it up, giving his.
I'm way too much in there. Yeah, their Discord is all. Their DNA Discord is awesome. I'll be completely honest. As an outsider, you guys are always super welcoming and respond to everybody. So it's awesome to have a Discord like you guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have guys in there winning like tens of thousands of dollars on fucking NASCAR in there with the DFS.
Dude, I don't know why I'm not paying attention to that. Like, I really need to start paying attention to that NASCAR portion of the Discord. I don't know why I'm not. But I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how did you do this?
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was like, oh, man. I wonder if I could do that. I fucking I did the PGA. Where the fuck one they had it on? Fuck, I forget what cup it was because I don't watch golf. But I was like, I'm gonna fucking do it, and I just bought a whole bunch of random players. I did not win any money on that DFS. I was a waste of $5 straight down the toilet. But
dude, I would have. I honestly, the only like NASCAR people I know are Rusty Wallace, and I'm like 99% sure he hasn't raced in like 20 to 30 years. But for whatever reason, there was a brief period of time, like my brother was really into NASCAR and it only lasted for like 2 years. And like, I got super into it when I was like 6 and I was like, Rusty Wallace, that's like the coolest name ever. So I'm going to follow that dude. And like, that's the only NASCAR driver I know. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Dale Earnhardt, obviously, but Rusty's like the only one. Rusty's the only one I can remember, but that is enough for the NASCAR talk. I'm sorry that we couldn't have Rich tonight to do the pack openings. I know that you were a little upset about that. Rusty's the GOAT. You're damn right he's the GOAT. So, we talked about starting next week, Rich and I are going to be doing the Dynasty Dog Duel where we're going to be opening packs of cards to battle against each other to build a fantasy roster. And throughout the year, I'm going to be, mapping out the points and see who has built the better roster. And I know damn well it ain't going to be him. So, but yeah, that'll be it for us. Again, thank you so much for coming on. Shout out to you, Wizz, and shout out to the rest of the DNA crew. This is the Dynasty Dogs, and we'll be signing out for this evening. You guys have a good night.
Later.